What's up, JEFusion fans? This is Phil, and welcome back to another video. So, I woke up to shock. This might be the most shocking Halloween that I've ever experienced in my life. And I woke up to some very surprising news today, and that would be Super Sentai is going to end its run with Gozyuger. Now, before we even get started with this thing, let me just say that, well, there have been rumors that have been going about even before Gojuger began. Like, I mean, there were already talks about, Super Sentai ending its run, uh, given that, it's the 50th anniversary and whatnot. But here, I want to talk about it in more detail. So you see, what happened was, like earlier today, so October 31st, 2025, uh, Oricon, a highly reputed news source, especially when it comes to entertainment, uh, they released this news to the public saying that related people, or those who are affiliated with TV Asahi, mentioned that there is going to, or like, Super Sentai is going to end its run in 2026 after Gojuger ends. Now, instead of just relying on Oricon, because their actual article was extremely short and less detailed, well, I am obliged to share my source. I'm not gonna use Oricon as my base point. So instead, before making this video, I made sure to check other news sources with more information, and those are the links that I will put down in the description. Now, those websites are in Japanese, by the way. So if you're going to want to read those articles, then feel free to run them through your computer's Google Translate or something. But anyways, I will post like actual news websites that I have visited, and go check them out in the description after this video. So again, it's really shocking news, right? After 50 years, Super Sentai is ending its run, but what are the implications of this, and what are the reasons for this like surprising news, or shocking rather? So, according to the news sources that I've read, and Yahoo News actually mentions that uh, the declining birth rate is a factor. However, the most common reason that I have read through multiple news sources is that, Super Sentai isn't really in a position where it gets high ratings, even though, the franchise has been running for 50 years, and, it produced many famous actors in Japan, like Tori Matsuzaka from Shinkenger, Yuki Yamada from Gokaiger, and well, not really recently, but he has been very popular recently, although he did start rising popularity before. So Ryusei Yokohama from Tokyuger, just to name a few. And of course, there are many other Super Sentai actors, especially like from the later Heisei era, that have gained so much popularity. But those are just some of the examples that my news sources have mentioned, and I would agree they have really grown in popularity after they made their debut or big break in the Super Sentai series. So, other than like the declining birth rate of Japan, so other or most of these sources mention that the cost of production has been very high, and this is probably the reason why we cannot recreate another King Oger, because you could only imagine how much money they spent to create the entire show. And well, for me, it's the best thing that Super Sentai has ever produced, at least in my opinion. Like, the amount of money that went into that show just for it to be complete, while it did end up being very successful in my opinion, So again, it's impossible to recreate the magic that was King Oger. And according to my sources, so first, of course, we have that increased production cost, and again, relating to the declining birth rate of Japan. So goods or like items are not selling out as much, and the revenue from events and like movies aren't that good either, according to those sources. But again, recently we've gone to Nagoya for the Super Sentai exhibit, and I think it's doing quite well. And based on my personal observation, like Tokusatsu toys, at least from how I see, you know, like these guys, they fly off the shelves quite fast, and you know, thanks to well, fans from overseas, I guess, like they are also able to get their hands on Super Sentai like deluxe items, maybe even like uh, SH figure arts. I've seen like people on Twitter who are not in Japan, by the way, and posting pictures of their recently purchased Goju Wolf SH figure arts. But nonetheless, sales according to these sources have not been good. So while this may be on the surface level, we actually could be misled. But again, that's still all speculation for now, considering that there's news that like the 2026 Super Sentai is already in production, and there's like leaked information already. Now, this is coming from my Japanese sources, but like from non-Japanese tokusatsu based content creators, like they do have a different story. So I did also check out like other people who are making news about this, and there's one thing that they are mentioning: a rebranding of the franchise. And why is it so? Now, uh, you see, we do have Kamen Rider Zets, for example, and I believe Kamen Rider Zets is the very first Kamen Rider that Toei has actually been actively marketing outside of Japan. Now, for context, like other Kamen Rider shows that probably have aired outside of Japan or like streamed on the internet, what have you, like Toei basically simply gave their permission, like, yeah, you can do that, sure. But this time, like, Toei's like, "No, this is our Kamen Rider. Like, we want the world to watch it," kind of thing. So, yeah, that's, I believe, this is the first time that Toei is actively promoting Kamen Rider to the West and other parts of the world. Uh, but yeah, and considering that, like, many people have been wondering, I guess, that, why isn't Super Sentai doing the same? And well, many people have probably said this as well. Again, like other tokusatsu based YouTubers or content creators, like they mention that it's because of Hasbro and the Power Rangers. So think about it like this, right? Toei is able to market Kamen Rider Zets to the West because nobody else has the rights or the licenses to Kamen Rider. So basically, no one is stopping them from airing Kamen Rider Zets in the West. However, this would be the case. This could be a different case for Super Sentai. Like, imagine this. Toei is trying to promote Super Sentai in other countries, but Hasbro is gonna be like, wait, we already have Power Rangers. Why are you trying to promote the Japanese stuff? Well, even though technically, for all intents and purposes, Power Rangers is basically like a dead franchise at this point. Well, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on Power Rangers. I mean, I'd be a hypocrite to say that I hate it. I grew up with it. And, it's one of the reasons that I am here today making this content for you guys. But again, like Hasbro has said nothing about future projects. Their basic what's happening with the toys is like they're just basically rehashing the Mighty Morphin brand, but again, in regards to brand new IPs, like even though they're not going to use Super Sentai footage anymore, there's still no original content from the Power Rangers, and this could you know happen to Super Sentai, but I'm hoping it's not. But either way, even now, like let's say even if like Power Rangers is not producing new content at the moment, like Hasbro can still stop Toei from actually marketing Super Sentai shows to the West again because they have the rights to Power Rangers. Now, if this rebrand is true, then what could happen is, you know, like Hasbro doesn't have the rights or the licenses to whatever Super Sentai or is going to come out in the near future. So think about it this way: if this rebrand rumor is true, then this could be the case. So Toei could retire the Super Sentai brand after Gozyuger and give it a new name afterwards. Let's say, for example, like Hyper Sentai, or something like that. But let's take Hyper Sentai, for example. Since Toei has the exclusive rights and licensing to, the Hyper Sentai series, and Hasbro has nothing to do with it, then, you know, Toei could potentially do what they're doing with Kamen Rider Zets at least, and they'd be able to release it to other countries without anyone stopping them because of again licensing and copyright issues. So this is one avenue. Now, basically, the worst case scenario is that Super Sentai is going to just end. And, you know, this, like, there's been a lot of reaction from fans, especially, and not to mention, even actors who have appeared in the franchise were shocked at this news, unsurprisingly. So, again, a lot of people in Japan are asking what's going to happen next, what's going to happen now. Like, there are so many questions that have aroused, worry and suspicion among fans. And, well, I really couldn't say why myself. So I'm just, reading up on what's happening. And, yeah, I'm just as shocked as everyone. But let's say, for example, what could happen to the Super Sentai series going forward if we are going with the rebranding? Now, this could also, become a new potential for Super Sentai, right? Uh, if you notice, the Kamen Rider franchise has also released, animes, particularly the Futo Detectives series based off of Kamen Rider Double. Now, we could say there could be an animated Super Sentai that's, again, officially made by Toei and not just one of those parodies like Red Ranger in Another World or, you know, anything of that sort. Like an actual official entry to the Super Sentai franchise that just happens to be animated. It could be an original IP or like a reimagining of, let's say, Go Ranger. I think Go Ranger is the best place to start if we're going the anime route. given that, well, of course, Shotaro Ishinomori had made uh, Go Ranger as basically like a manga before, and we can see the potential anime style like Cyborg 009, which is another Ishinomori creation. So we could go that route as well, but of course not entirely turning the franchise into an anime only, because people are gonna still want the tokusatsu aspect of it. Like you could put the anime as a side project, or something that could air alongside an official live action Super Sentai. uh, Again, things are possible, but you know TV Asahi and Toei maybe are using this excuse, you could say, that production costs make it difficult for Super Sentai to continue. So you know there could be some problems with that if that's the case. But let's say that Toei does retire the Super Sentai brand completely. I think it could still make a comeback, maybe after a few years. Take a look at Kamen Rider. Okay, after Kamen Rider Black RX, the TV Kamen Rider franchise has stopped. Now, aside from a couple of movies, we have, Shin, ZO, and J. You know, like in between the years of like 1991 to 2000, I guess, there was a gap, all right, in the TV setting. So of course, when Kamen Rider Kuga came out in 2000, so everybody was, hyped that the Kamen Rider series is making a huge comeback. Now, this could happen to Super Sentai if we are going the Super Sentai is indeed going to end route, at least for now. So, if Super Sentai is going to end like that, then who knows? There could be some hype like after 10 years or so, if Toei does decide to, bring back the series. I mean, it's been a part of like Japanese subculture, pop culture, and by extent, like international pop culture. Thanks to the Power Rangers. Uh, I don't think that they could just, throw away such a franchise that has been part of like Japanese society for like 50 years. Imagine like just throwing away half a century's worth of history. That's history right there. Can you imagine 50 years? But we really don't know what the future holds just yet. Now, again, I do want to leave this video in a more hopeful note, but you know, there are some possibilities. Again, Toei could be actually lying to us. Hopefully, this is well, this isn't really April Fool's Day, but like a Halloween joke. But you know, uh, maybe they could find a solution to continue producing uh, Sentai shows. I'm using air quotes because who knows, like maybe we could see the franchise actually continue in, like the coming years, but it's not gonna be like the Super Sentai brand anymore. Like I've been thinking actually, like this could be like a comparison, but my personal comparison. Now, I'm gonna have to mention this. Uh, let's compare this era of Super Sentai to Avatar, and I mean the Last Airbender, Legend of Korra animated series. So it all started with a man named One. So Avatar 1 is the first Avatar, right? So he's gonna be our stand-in for Go Ranger, and like a few generations later, so we have Avatar Aang. So Avatar Aang is gonna be our stand-in for Gozyuger. You know, so at some point, you know, the cycle of the Avatar had broken. And, Avatar Korra had to restart this cycle anew on her own. Like, she became the new first Avatar. Like, after, like, the chain was broken, in between her and Aang. So, let's say Korra is gonna be our new Sentai, or rather, she's gonna stand in for this new Sentai series going forward, and who knows what could happen. I have to admit that I've never watched Legend of Korra, by the way, but I know what happened based on like content that I've seen from uh, the internet. But you know, I think it's still like a good comparison to reference, in my opinion. But yeah, so what's gonna happen is that the current Super Sentai is going to quote unquote end, and a new era of Super Sentai could begin. Because honestly, like, the end is just a signal for a new beginning, in my opinion. So let's just be hopeful of what the future could hold. And yeah, we're just gonna have to wait for announcements from Toei. So, anyways, what do you guys think of this? Let me know down in the comments section. Again, I'm going to share my news sources in the links in the description. So go check them out. Again, they're all in Japanese, so go ahead and have your computer translate it for you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching Super Sentai. But again, and let's continue supporting the franchise from now on and in the near future. So as always, thanks for watching. Please do leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell so you get the latest from JEFusion. This has been Philip, and I'll see you in the next one.